Good afternoon. My name is Lupe Mojica, and it's my pleasure to be here introducing this great topic and this great team. Today, we're going to hear about career breakthroughs in honor of Black History Month, what used to be Black History Week. This work is a direct reflection of the People Council and of the social purpose pillars. And so with that, it is my pleasure to introduce Lisa Cunningham, who will moderate this event, who is also part of Women in Leadership Council. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Lupe, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Black History Month panel discussion of career breakthroughs, shifting from good to great. In a moment, we'll start the discussion with introductions. But first, I want to begin with a brief statement of what Black History Month means to me, what this conversation means to me. History is made every day. So Black History Month is a celebration of a journey, the journey of individuals, the journey of a people. And because we do not live our lives in isolation, it is the celebration of the collective, the allies, the supporters, the teams, the coaches, the companies that invest in pillars and conversations like these, the nation. It's a celebration of us. We have a diverse panel for today's conversation. Individuals at different stages of their careers across various areas of the business. So let's get to the introductions, starting with Trayvon.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Trayvon Jackson, General Manager here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Been with FirstService close to 6 years, 5 years, 8 months to be exact. And I oversee a community here in Las Vegas, condominium community of 480 units.
Thank you, Trayvon. Latoya.
Hello, everyone. Latoya Pierce, and I am the Vice President of Legal Affairs and General Counsel, and I've been with FirstService a little over 4 years.
Thank you, Latoya. Mike?
Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Gray. I'm a market president in New England, and I've been with the company for just over 16 months, so almost a year and a half.
Wonderful. Let's hear from you, Steve.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Steve Dunmore, and I've been with the company almost 3 months. 3 months on March 6th.
Awesome. Stacy?
Sorry, some technical difficulty. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stacy Stanley. I am the Workers' Compensation Director for the South, and I've been with FirstService Residential for 8 years now.
Thank you, Stacy. My name is Lisa Cunningham, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Finance for the Texas region. So let's dive in. Latoya, the first question goes to you. We're talking about shifting from good to great. So what does that mean to you? What does great look like?
So when I think about shifting from good to great, 3 things come to mind. One being that you have to have a vision and set some goals. You know, how do you know where you're trying to go or what your ultimate outcome is if you don't have a goal in mind? And then you have to be disciplined about reaching those goals. So for me, once I decided to go to law school, I set some career goals, like, graduate from law school, get a job, those, that's good, right? But that was just the starting point. While in law school, I had to think of other goals that I wanted to set prior to graduation. And one of those goals was I didn't want to spend the summer studying for the bar exam. The bar exam is given twice a year, February and July. and you graduate in May, and then you spend the entire summer studying for the bar exam. So I decided I was going to research to see if I could take the bar exam early, because I didn't want to, I wanted my summer, right? So I did that. I researched, I figured out what was needed for me to take the bar early. I took some summer classes, and I took the bar and passed the bar prior to graduating law school. So I was one of only 3 students, I think, that were at graduation already licensed. And so then I could enjoy my summer. So that was just another goal, you know. And then, of course, throughout my career, I set other goals. But that was one example of going from good to great. The second thing that comes to mind is taking time to reflect on your failures. You know, some of your biggest lessons come from some of your biggest failures, right? Being good to me is experiencing a failure, and we all will, and just kind of moving on and not letting it crush your dreams, right? But being great is when you reflect on what went wrong. How can I change and avoid making that same mistake when this next situation comes around? Because many of us, the same situation will come around again and again and again. And being great means making adjustments. So one example from my career is that it was about my 8th year of practice. My firm was merging with another law firm. And one of the partners in my current firm said, you know what, I'm just going to negotiate everybody's deal. And I said, fine. Well, it didn't work out or go as planned. And what I learned from that was that you have to be your biggest advocate. You have to go after, you know what you want, so you have to advocate for that. You know, I learned that I needed to use my own voice and how to use my own voice. And no one can advocate for you better than you can. People can supplement or back up what you say, but if you're not willing to advocate for yourself, then how are you expecting someone else to? And so that was one of the biggest life lessons that came from a failure event. And then third, to go from good to great, you need to be willing to network. Not only network with your peers, but also network with people that are where you want to go. Because unless you start asking questions and start finding out like how they got there, what did they think is important, find out the why behind the what, you won't be able to go from good to great. And while you're making that adjustment and networking and learning from your peers and people higher up, you also need to take the time to bring someone along with you and mentor. So for me, it was, I found a mentor who was a partner at a law firm who, to me, in all respects, looked successful. And so we would have monthly coffee. I would find out what she was doing, how she was doing it, because that was where I wanted to go. But additionally, I started mentoring a law student and doing the same thing. Because once you start moving up the ladder, you have to be willing to give back and serve others. And so that is what I think about when it's going from good to great.
You said a lot packed into that answer. Thank you, LaToya. So I want to pivot to you, Stacy. LaToya said a couple things there. Be forward thinking, make adjustments, be your biggest advocate, and clearly you've done that in making the shift. Can you talk to us about a pivotal moment in your career and what that was for you?
Absolutely. To LaToya's advice, so I come from the cruise line industry. I used to work for a major cruise line, and I remember early in my career. I had just gotten to their risk management department and I was happy. I was learning things. And then all of a sudden my boss said, "Hey, Stacy, I think you should do workers' comp. I think you're going to be really good at it." And I said, "I don't know anything about workers' comp. I knew about this much, zero." And so I had the choice. I could have declined the offer, but instead I decided, you know what, let me embrace this. I don't know anything about it. I'm always about learning new things because the learning never stops. And so I started to learn. I went to seminars, webinars. I talked to everybody. I found a mentor who helped me in my career. And the more I learned was the more I realized that this company wasn't doing anything they were supposed to do. And so then I created the workers' comp program for the cruise line industry. I will tell you this, it is eye-opening to realize that a major company and major organizations aren't as together as we think. And so when I realized this, I'm like, wow, we've been operating this for so long and nobody's done anything. So I made my mark with the company and it was just refreshing. And even when I left, I was telling them, take care of my baby, take care of my baby. I put so much into it to create this moment. And for those of you who are trying to make your mark or create your moment, when you're asked to do something, do more. You'll be surprised the mark that you make in just owning what it is that you love to do and showing the entire company, organization, even to yourself. You prove to yourself you can do beyond what you thought you could.
Love, love, love that. So say yes, right? When someone gives you an opportunity, say yes when you're afraid and when you don't know. And when you're asked to do something, do more, improve it. And that's one of our pillars here, improve it. So Trayvon, I want to hear from you. You started your career with FirstService Residential as an administrative assistant in the Nevada office. And now, as you said, you're the GM of a 480 unit community leading 10 plus associates. That definitely is a shift. So tell us about a pivotal moment for you.
So my pivotal moment, and thanks for the question. My pivotal moment came prior to me coming to FirstService. I was in the private sector. I was an operations manager for a golf course, private golf course, and spa facility, overseeing about 30 or 40 associates and estheticians and golf caddies and whatnot. And I had a very difficult conversation with the ownership there, just trying to figure out what my next step was with them. And they were very transparent and honest in saying that we just want you to be here. And the pay would always be, there will always be lateral movement there, but there's no growth as far as what's next in the company. So I had a very good conversation with my mentor then. And he just told me you need to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And then I began to try to navigate and figure out exactly what that meant, and different ideas and what's next. And came across FirstService, did a little bit of research, and I understood that it would have been easier for me to, work my way into the higher positions, but I thought it was very important to learn the company, and the only way to do that is to start at the bottom. So that's what I did. And again, administrative assistant, mailroom, front desk, assistant, community manager, and now GM. And I'm very excited about that. And I think a big part of me being successful was being very intentional and transparent, as what I learned in my previous time with the other companies is being very intentional and purposeful too, to say, hey, this is my goal. I'm willing to start here, but with the understanding that I need to get here and understand what I need to do to get there, but I'm relying on you to be transparent and accountability, and just holding me accountable to what's necessary to get to the next point in life. So I'm thankful for it, and here I am.
What a story. And just in your story, I heard everything that LaToya laid out in her original statement. The setting of goals, being intentional.
Yep.
And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but as you were speaking, the thought came to mind, how can you make that shift? You were leading at a golf company. So, right, in the eyes of onlookers, it would appear that you were taking a demotion. But the fact that you were very intentional and purpose-driven in that decision is why you're here today. So that's an incredible story and lots of lessons that we can take away from that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Booker T. Washington said, success is to be measured not as much by the position that one has reached in life as by the obstacles which he or she has overcome while trying to succeed. Steve, what are some of the obstacles you had to overcome? Moments when you were stuck?
Wow. Well, a lot of obstacles, and I love that statement from Booker T. Washington, because I've learned more with the many obstacles that I've had to overcome than, quite frankly, when it was smooth sailing for me. But I'll just talk about a few of those. And again, just real quickly about my background, I spent over 10 years at Ford Motor Company in a variety of leadership positions, and I spent the next 10 or so years working for a variety of different kinds of companies. And then I worked for a company called Sodexo for 18 years, and then finally found this great place that we all work for now. But I had periods, particularly earlier in my career, where, quite frankly, I just felt unfulfilled, and that I was being overlooked, and I wasn't moving, fast enough throughout my career. And it was the first time that I really seriously thought about seeking out a mentor. I've had some personal sort of mentors, but the company introduced a mentor program. And it just gave me an avenue to bounce off ideas and some of my, the issues that I was having. And like some of the other panelists have said, it really kind of opened my eyes to really taking advantage to get exposure within the organization through taking on special projects and not being afraid to stepping up and doing a presentation, and the learning opportunities that were made available to me. And then also the importance of, there is sort of the formal sort of business and network, but then there are informal networks where often decisions were being made. And there were times where I was excluded from those sorts of things. But there are also times where I excluded myself from some of those sort of informal things where the team would go and have drinks at a restaurant or do various things. So it really just gave me a perspective on how to kind of learn and grow and, make myself, I would say, more relevant, I would say, to the overall organization. And then I would also say, I learned that no news is not good news. And what I mean by that is it's important to get feedback. Sometimes we count on our bosses to give us feedback, and they should, but every boss is different. So you have to be confident and courageous in asking for some of that tough sort of information. So that's just a few of the things that, again, I think many of the other panelists have sort of reinforced, but getting exposure and taking advantage of those opportunities to help yourself grow and be, more relevant and to provide more value to the organization.
What would you say, so many nuggets in what you said, what would you say was your biggest obstacle? Or maybe, I'll add to that, a repeating obstacle for you?
I would say for me, and again, I could take it in a different direction, but I would say personally for me, it was confidence, right? Having the confidence that I could do, wonderful and good things for the organization. So that inner part of my head would tell me you can't do it. And quite frankly, as I was coming up in different, sort of leadership opportunities, there was a lot of pressure from others that didn't appreciate, the fact that I was a Black person, quite honest, when I was coming up. And so they sort of fed into some of those insecurities that I had. But as I mentioned, getting that great, network of mentors and, having individuals to bounce things off of, it kind of helped me with my confidence to, move through and, continue to advance through the organization.
I love that. And so thank you, right, for that raw honesty, because I think there are so many of us that deal with the imposter syndrome, right? And that voice in our heads, wherever it comes from, that tells us we're not good enough, you can't, whatever it is. So there'll be a question later on about what inspires you, but I want us to think about what is our response? Like, how do you respond to that? And maybe you've already gone beyond that, even for you. I don't know, but how do we respond to that voice? I want to move on, so because I want to give you some time to think about that. So we'll move on and then come back to our response. So we've heard from, I think, everyone who's spoken so far about the importance of networking, importance of having a mentor. LaToya talked about helping others. And so, Mike, I want to hear how you are helping others navigate their careers. How are you sending the elevator down?
Well, thank you. So, I mean, this is a tough one for a lot of folks to grapple with. And, as I think back on my career, I've benefited for certain from many people, parents and family and church and so forth, have invested in me as an individual. And I see that as returning the favor and investing in others and giving people an opportunity to ask questions and learn. So many of us, and I'm certainly in the group that doesn't feel like I have anything that is so special about me that other people are going to want to know that I have done X, Y, or Z and so forth. But when you start to talk to people and they approach you and they ask you questions like, hey, let me ask some advice, or I see that your title is X, Y, or Z. How did you get there? So forth. You begin to think, oh, I have had a number of experiences that I could probably take those things. So first is to just have your own self-reflection about what is it that you can offer to people. The second is, as Steve said, putting yourself in situations where you can be somebody who people look to or ask questions of. You're available, right? So many of us do the job, we go home, we don't participate, we don't volunteer, we do all of those things. So you got to be in the spaces where people can find you, be open to it. So, I mean, that's one thing. And throughout my career and throughout my life, and probably because I've had great mentors since I was born, I am involved in things and go places and volunteer and do those things. And the older I get, and you can see it's not a lot of hair here, but if it was, it would be white. The more I realized that the benefit of the folks that I had access to and desire now for myself to be one of those folks, to put myself in those spaces and offer what I can. Any insight or any nugget or any experience. And you tend to find that folks eat that stuff up. Being involved in organizations internally in the company, but also externally. Your career is more than just what you do from 9 to 5. It's how you live your life and the places that you go and the relationships that you have and the organizations that you're involved with. So many people listening right now volunteer for things, are part of the church, are part of community organizations, nonprofits, and have a passion for things. There's always learning there. So when I participate in those places, I try to make myself available to talk to people. And then if I have conversations with people and I say, I know a person who has that experience. I know a person who lived through something like that, does that same job. I try to make the connection for individuals, help them begin to build their careers, especially the folks who are on the younger side, who are shy about these things and who have to be pulled into conversations sometimes. Sometimes it's good for them to be uncomfortable, right? And in those conversations, those are the things we talk about it in here at FirstService Residential all the time, being comfortable with discomfort. And if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing and so forth. The same is so true for your life in general and how you can, really engage and provide advice, make yourself available to people that puts them in a place where they can see a path. And you also have to ask them a lot of questions about themselves. And are they going to opportunities or are they waiting for things to come to them? And, when you wait, you will wait a long time sometimes, so mom told me many years ago, someone's always watching. So the things that you do, someone's paying attention. But your part of that is to put yourself out there and to do a little bit of preparation on yourself too. So there is a personal responsibility that comes with growth, and making sure that people have it there. People will have very specific questions I've learned about, and many times it's a short-term thing about in my organization, in the job I am today, and there'll be X, Y, or Z. And sometimes it's what should I be thinking about as I grow, or what kind of steps should I be taking, or should I pursue higher education, a different degree, or something along those lines. And just listening to people, often they have the answer already. Often they know what they need to do, right? Or know the direction they want to go. And sometimes it's just affirmation, right? So, it's really that being available is probably the best thing that you can do. And then understand you have value. Just like if you were starting your career and it's your first day, you have value, and people have to be reminded you belong there because you earned it. And then secondly is that as you get, the more and more of these gray hairs come up and you put yourself in spaces and people begin to approach you with these questions, you belong there answering those questions. And it's something to embrace.
Let me just say, and I'm going to comment on your response, but I am so excited to be a part of this panel. Just the depth of the conversation is it's filling my cup. So thank you, panelists. So Mike, my key takeaway from what I heard you say was be accessible, right? Be at a place where people are comfortable coming to you and that people want to come to you. Make yourself available to people. The other thing I heard you say was similar to what Steve said. The water cooler conversation matters, right? So be accessible at the water cooler.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because it matters.
Oh.
All right. So we're going to move on. So we're going to have our first rapid fire question. And so in one word, I'll call your name. In one word, give me the answer to the question. All right. The question is, how does your heritage enhance your leadership style? Trayvon.
Ooh, I'm gonna say enhance accountability.
LaToya.
I was gonna say accountability, but communication.
Mike.
Understanding.
Steve.
Empathetic.
Stacy.
Cohesive.
And I would say courage.
like that.
All right. So we talked about answering the imposter syndrome. And there was a question that I was going to ask about inspiration. What inspires you? What keeps you going? So I'm going to start with that, and then we'll come back to our answer to the imposter voice. Mike and Trayvon, we'll start with Mike. What inspires you? What keeps you going?
So when I first took the opportunity and had the opportunity to come here, I had to search for why and what's the purpose, because I'm a purpose-driven person, and I need to know I'm making a difference. And when I think about the world we work in and how difficult housing is for many, and how people have, homebound or, house rich and cash poor, and how we can make a difference for how people live their lives and enjoy where they live and have opportunities and have security. That was the purpose. Helping them build wealth and helping them be comfortable. That was the purpose that I saw in this work. And it was definitely a purpose that is worthwhile.
What about you, Trayvon?
I'm going to say my pillars. I think it's important to establish pillars in your life and operate within those pillars. And that's like, those pillars could be anything. It could be the person that listens to you, the person that motivates you, the person that holds you accountable, the person that loves you, the person that inspires you. So establishing those pillars and being purposeful with the people that you allow in your life and around you, and operating within those compounds, I think is what keeps me inspired and keeps me going.
Love it. Stacy, what's your response to the imposter voice?
So you have to ignore it. It's really important that you absolutely know who you are, your value, and your worth. And I'll tell you why. There was a point in my career that I felt undervalued. And I'm like, I don't think everybody's recognizing all the work that I'm putting in, right, to get things going. And to tell you the truth, sometimes it's true. Your boss doesn't really know your value because he or she is so busy running so many different things that it's important you kind of point that out to your boss. So I remember it being performance review time, kind of like the world we're living in now. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go into this performance review to tell my boss who I am. So I did. So I rewrote, right, my job description, because I'm like, the boss doesn't know what I do. So I wrote my job description. I got 3 letters of references. I called, the people that I work with. I walked in that performance review and he sat down, you do the usual. And I said, well, I just want you to know that this is my job description. Here are my 3 letters of references. And I think I deserve a raise. Now, it was a little bit bold, but he was actually so impressed. He's like, I wasn't expecting this. You've impressed me immensely. Now, it didn't happen right away, but I have to tell you, he worked so hard on getting me what I asked for that it came 3 months later, but it did come.
Wow. What's your response, LaToya?
I tell myself daily affirmations that, I do belong here. I do belong in this room. I do have the education. I do have the experience, and I'm here for a reason. And I think going over that and having all those things go in my head when that imposter syndrome comes in, I think quiets that voice.
What about you, Steve? What's your response?
Again, I think the panel captured, most of my thoughts. It's around, make sure that you, regardless of what the situation is, even if it has to be forced, to say things positive, and think about, positive things. And then also, and this sort of goes without saying, make sure that you surround yourself with positive people, quite honestly. And, you know, you know, I've been around for a while, quite honestly, and I have a lot of great friends, and, you know, they'll always be my friends, but, you know, some of those individuals aren't in my inner circle because they bring negativity into, sort of my life. So, I think, you know, that has a, you know, a big, impact, on me. And then I would say, the other thing is that, you know, it's good, to have, supportive leaders.
That's incredible. You know, as you were talking, I thought about building great relationships, right? Which is one of our core values. And to your point about having leaders who are willing to step in and support you when it's critical, who are willing to help you combat that voice, that imposter voice, right? And so it's building a relationship with your leaders. To Stacy's point, bringing your A game to the table so that there's trust there, and so that when they are in a position to have to come to bat for you, you have laid a foundation of trust where it's not even a second thought or a question. So yeah, we need great leaders. We need people who will support us and be allies. So thank you. And people who will help us when that voice starts to speak and remind us, yeah, you do belong here. And I've been fortunate to have leaders like that in my career, which have helped me make the shift. Mike, anything you want to add? I see you, Steve, you lit up. Did you want to say something else?
Oh, no.
Nope. Okay.
Good, yeah.
Mike, is there anything you would add to that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say that, you know, as Steve just alluded, and I want to beat on New England, but having been born and raised here and then left for a while and came back, you know, a lot of those same kinds of situations, you know, happened to me and so many others, you know, throughout life, right? And so you have to really understand that, you know, as young people who have had experiences like that, and in, you know, high school, college, and, you know, in the career, that many of us had those experiences like that, and but have also had the counterbalance of people who have been able to share with you the worth and the value that you have as an individual, and that, you know, these you know, difficult challenges, and how you confront them, and how you manage them, and how you can realize that an individual situation is not necessarily indicative of how everybody works everywhere, and that when you run into these things, you cannot generalize about how people will behave, because then you will lose out on stories like Steve, right? And that he has the positive side of that story, which was the affirmation that, you know, he was very good at what he did, and that, you know, this one individual in this one situation certainly did not define him. And we have to understand, when we're talking to people and people are coming into our organization or into our personal lives, they have had many experiences like this, and that, you know, helping people kind of see past them and not get stuck on them, and then start fresh and give a new organization, a new person, a new leader a chance to be able to prove that, you know, they are the right leader, or that they have that value, and that they can promote, that they can enhance, that they can make you more valuable, is important. Everyone is an individual, and that, you know, and you have to lean into that, because we on this call have had probably similar experiences, but think about all of the folks that are on the line listening, and who look different, or from different places, or from et cetera, who have had run into things as well, right? And that's where this kind of conversation is valuable, because everybody has had something that they've run into that, you know, could lead them to believe that the whole world is going to be like that every day, and I should just build a cocoon around myself and not try to enhance or grow or educate. Or they could lean into, this is a one situation. Tomorrow I'm going to talk to somebody else and I'm going to have a different experience. And every day is an opportunity for me to continue to grow and to do the right thing because I can control myself. Right.
So I hear you saying, choose your perspective.
Choose
how you're going to view whatever is in front of you or what's happening. I love that. All right, so rapid fire number 2. Stacy, who's your favorite artist?
I'm gonna have to say it's Janet Jackson. She's the first concert I went to. I follow her. I love singing and dancing. Sometimes I pretend to be her. And so I think she just has an immense amount of talent, and she doesn't let you know all that she has, but I like her a lot.
All right. Trayvon, one word. Who's your favorite artist?
I'm gonna say Michael's. Keep it in the family. Michael Jackson. And just what he stood for, though, it was more than just music. His message was just it was everything.
I love that. Okay, so we are abandoning the one-word answer because clearly you're not following the rules. So you're free to expand. Latoya, who is your favorite artist?
Okay, so I was going to say Janet because she was my first concert as well. And then because Stacy said Janet, I was going to say Michael. but now I'll say Prince.
Mike?
So I'll go with I'm going to go with artist. I'm going to reinterpret the question into art.
Okay.
And there is an artist named Charles White. And the reason I think that, and since we're not going with rapid fire, we're going with explanation.
Right.
Since I was a young child, my mother and my grandmother had these prints in their house from this artist Charles White, and they just sat on the wall. And there's a series that they have, and there's that is very famous that he has, and it's all different pictures. There's one of Abraham Lincoln, and there's one of like several other scenes and people working in fields, and it's a series. And they were always on the wall, and I always walked by them, and they were just there since I was born, since before I was born, in both my house, my mother's and my grandmother's house. Now that they're older, I'm older. I go visit them regularly. They live about an hour from me. Now when I go there, I actually stop and take a moment to look at those pictures and to think about how they have been on the wall in our house and many other houses for all that time. And it's begun to really take a moment to look and appreciate the talent that artist has. His work is, I've looked into him, and his work is renowned and world famous and all that other stuff. And just to know that, that it just sat on the wall in the house for 50 years. And, I'm just now beginning to appreciate that.
Wow.
That it sat there. So, I could talk about artists and music and all that other stuff, but I'll go with that because I have really begun to appreciate the talent and the durability, staying power of great art.
All right, I wrote his name down. I'm going to check it out. Steve?
Well, for me, this may not be the answer you're looking for, Lisa, but it would be my mom. I mean, she was a professional jazz singer and musician. She started her career from Detroit, but she started her career actually playing clubs in Miami Beach, and that was back when Miami was very segregated. So even though she could perform and they loved her and everything, she couldn't go to those same places and eat or be there as a customer or try on clothes in department stores. But in spite of that background, she was the most open, diverse, and inclusive person. And she taught me to love everybody. And obviously that's a big part of who I am now because of my mom and what she did and the stories that she would she would tell me.
That's heartwarming. Okay, since you all did not follow the rules, I'm not going to either. I'm going to share two artists. So first, I would say Prince. He was my first concert. Loved Prince. And the other, probably unexpected, is Celine Dion. Just the sound of her voice moves me. So I just love it. And I pretend that I'm able to sound like her. All right, so we have 6 minutes left and 2 questions. So Steve, what advice do you have for listeners who want to make the shift? And we've given a lot of advice, but what else?
Well, I would say just in general, embrace diversity. It's not just diversity, quite honestly, it's diversity and inclusion. I mean, that's where you get the power of, the diversity to make better decisions and drive growth and all of those wonderful sorts of things. I would say seek out opportunities, as this great panel has said, to showcase your skills and potential to build your confidence. And I would also say seek out mentors, as we've talked about, as well as sponsors. Now, sponsors are, to some degree, can even be more important than mentors. A sponsor is somebody that's going to advocate for you in those rooms where promotional decisions and sorts of things are made, and you'd be amazed at how many rooms I've been in, and individuals that I know are good don't get the recognition that they should get. So you got to make sure that you share your voice to make sure that happens. And the way to get a sponsor is to go back to sort of the earlier part of the conversation, is you got to get out there, get exposure, take on the extra sorts of things, and making sure that you're providing value throughout the organization.
Love that. So get a sponsor, someone who is at the table in the room and will advocate for you. Love it. Okay, so last question. And I realized that I skipped a question, so if we have time, we'll go back to that. Stacy and LaToya, what advice would you give to Black women in the workplace?
All right. Well, being a Black woman in corporate America is a double minority. So with that being said, it's important that you know who you are. Everybody brings value. And you've got to surround yourself with people who feed your soul. So one of the panelists did say they had to leave some friends behind because of the negative energy. It is crucial, the positive energy you surround yourself with, even if you give it to yourself, your daily affirmations, who you are and what you stand for. And once you get to that level, your work, it's going to come through your work. What happens in our soul and our core comes through to our work. It comes in your ethic, it comes in your belief. And if you're on this call, that means you work for an absolutely fantastic company who values those things.
I agree with everything Stacy just said, but I will, what I like to tell people is find your squad, find a peer group that it could be, people, different companies, but that is experiencing the same struggles you are, right? That can help you navigate those struggles, that can share ideas with you, that can be your cheerleader and your supporter. I found throughout my career that was one of the biggest positive things that I could have done, because a lot of times, you will find yourself being the only one in a room full of people and there's no one else that looks like you. But when you have your peer group, your squad, that can sustain and support you and help push you through.
Thank you. Thank you. So we are going to wrap this up. What an amazing discussion. So I want to thank each of you for giving of yourselves today, for filling my cup and hopefully filling the cups of the people who participated, sharing nuggets, Thank you to FirstService Residential, to Lupe, the People Counselor, for making this conversation possible. And a big shout out to Angela Parker, who is the RSS manager for Dallas. I was worried about honoring this group with the right questions. I was stuck. I met with Angela and had a breakthrough. So thank you, Angela, for making us great. Thank you, everyone who joined us today, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
And thank you, Lisa, for the facilitation.
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
appreciate
Great.
it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.